Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Mortgages and Markets. We have Vakili. He's coming to us from a completely bland area. Nothing on the walls. I don't know if he just threw a temper tantrum and there's nothing on there anymore with the markets going the way they are. But other than that, how are you, Sam?
I'm well. I'm well. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
Hey, I'm good. I'm watching that wall behind you. And what is that, calming beige or something like
I think
that?
so.
It's
I think so. Yeah, taupe of sorts.
So that's right. Yeah. Hey, I don't know, between your beige wall and my mess of books I've never read, we're a perfect combination.
There
So,
you go.
all right, let's get right into it, buddy. So let's start with some mortgage. Well, again, I don't want to talk about mortgages right now, but I want to talk about the housing market. So I don't have anything to share screen-wise with everybody today. I know we have an abundance of people watching on YouTube, but I'm sure they're lined up somewhere. But I don't have anything to show because I don't have it on a website. So I'm just going to talk about it. Spring housing market blooms in July. Isn't that nice?
It is.
That the housing market has bloomed. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
market's bloomed, banking has bloomed,
A late bloom.
coronavirus has bloomed in the US. That's maybe not appropriate. Okay, so spring housing market blooms in July. So I'll just read the point forms that I've got here. So Canada's housing markets were supercharged in July. So we've gone back now to the Voltron years. Man, I've just aged myself bad there. So Canada's housing markets were supercharged in July. Pent-up demand bolstered activity. Shocker. Supply increases generally came up short of demand. Prices accelerated. Market vigor likely to persist near term before subsiding later this year. There's some big words in here.
Yeah.
Blooms,
Educated.
supercharged. Yeah, that's
Book
right.
learnings.
That's right. So here's what's got me, bud. We've been talking about all these things we've been talking about, right, for months. And so if I can bring it a little bit more closer to home, Southwestern Ontario, Waterloo region in particular. So for the first time, I believe since COVID hit, the Waterloo region is now less than 1 month of inventory. So what that means is a month of inventory is a key indicator in the market. Okay. So if you're all following me on social media, which I'm sure you all are, every Monday morning I post the inventory numbers. Okay. And we are now less than a month. So what that means is if we stopped listing properties today, we would have less than 1 month of inventory to sell. Okay. That puts us into a severe seller's market because there just isn't anything. We've got pent up demand. We have rates insane low. I've never seen them this low before type rates. I think you're selling GICs at, some magic beans and a plant. So,
Pretty much.
these are the sorts of things we're seeing. So, you know, um, yeah, we're going to see what happens. People are now back to work, right? I mean, we're starting to see that. So let me bring that into my next topic that I'm going to definitely come over to you for. In July, Canadian employment up another 419,000. Okay, so our unemployment rate's now down to 10.9. Sam, bring this home for us. We have a blooming spring housing market. Everyone's back to work, low rates. What does this mean?
Things are good. That's what it means. Things are good. We're keeping the COVID cases in check reasonably, even though most of the province and country is moving to phase 3. People are getting their jobs back, which is great news, especially considering they've just announced that CERB is going to be changing and they're going to be transitioning CERB off to EI. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see how that plays out.
Now, what does that mean? I didn't hear that. What's going to happen?
So essentially, with CERB being, the
For me.
program that we've known about for the last little while, they are going to end that $2,000 monthly program. And
Okay.
so the people that are still being impacted and that need the coverage and the support, they will be getting their payments through the EI program rather than through the CERB program. So it sounds like they're
Okay.
transitioning the individuals that are still applicable for CERB or some form of CERB onto the EI. And I don't know the logistics of the ins and outs. I'm not even 100% sure if they've announced all the ins and outs yet, but they have talked about the fact that they're coming. And I can't recall if it's September or October is the last one. I apologize. I think it's September, but it looks like that's the direction things are going.
So those people now have to apply, and
Again, that part I don't know. It may be
yeah.
it may transition onto EI. It may be a new application. That part I don't want to speak on since I don't know the logistics of it. But what it tells us is that unemployment is going down. People are getting back to work. It's giving us some hope. which is great. But to your point about housing going the direction that it is, and I was reading this yesterday actually, prices have gone up substantially from last July. I
Yeah.
remember 2, 3 months ago, we were talking about this. We were saying, oh, we're talking about maybe decreases of 10, 12, 18%. I don't know, maybe the opposite is happening now, right? People don't necessarily want to live in the core. There's apparently a mass exodus of individuals leaving the denser populated areas and going towards more rural, more, I don't want to call them smaller cities, but in relation to Toronto, they're smaller.
Urban sprawl for a different reason,
Sure,
right?
exactly.
I do have my poor first time home buyers. Like I feel bad, in the sense that they're looking to find something they can afford, because I've said this like 5 times this week talking with clients. Your income has not caught up with the price of homes.
Not
Very
even close.
simple. So I have first time home buyers that maybe want to start families, and they're deciding, do we move an hour away to be able just to get in the market? Or another family of 4, for example, they can afford maybe 325. I said, folks, you're looking at a condominium. And I know in this area, everyone wants to own their own home, but you know what? Your starter home may now become a condominium,
Yeah.
right? Just get into the market. So,
That's exactly it. Right. I think there's a lot of factors at play there. You've got people that are deciding to just call it a day and retire perhaps earlier than originally anticipated. They're
right.
moving out of the city because they don't want to be in a dense population. You have people that are now working from home, so they'd rather spend that extra $500 on a commute or on parking on a nicer, bigger home for their kids and for their dogs. I know that at some point there was a dog shortage, or a puppy shortage. So you put all these things together, and that's what's probably pushing the direction towards urban living outside of Toronto. I don't know what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so, who predicted this, man? Like who could even, you can't, uh, more so the rule is we're making this up as we go. And there's so many twists and turns, like a puppy shortage, people
Pressure
make,
treated wood shortage.
oh,
You can build a deck if you want to. I'm telling you firsthand.
who knew that being in the pool business would be so lucrative and in your and a great retirement plan? I got people that have told me that they're booking into the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. Right now, hopefully, they still want a pool by then. That's a whole other issue. Being a pool owner, I'm not sure if the novelty will wear off or not, but it's yeah, it's a crazy, crazy time. I have one board, one pressure treated board I need to fix on a fence. I could not find it in 3 stores. So if you are a wood reseller, let me tell you, you might be in luck. All right. So then the other part here, you talk a lot about GDP, okay, gross domestic product. And another note that came out just hot off the press, Canadian trade flows picked up in June. God, we got blooms and flows. We got all sorts of things. So exports and imports increased sharply in June. I don't think that's a shocker. International trade flows still down sharply from February, but getting better. So let me ask you this question, and it doesn't get too much into what countries and stuff like that, but our biggest trade partner south of the border, let's say they got some issues, okay? The border is closed for, I mean, it's not closed for this sort of stuff, but
No.
what does this mean? So if flows are picking up, are we still trading with our COVID friends there south of the border? Is this international? What's happening?
We're still trading. I mean, most countries are still doing as much trade as they can because we're so dependent on one another. We've become such a globalized economy. And that's where we talked about a few months ago. Will countries start to become more protectionist and try to create more, in-house products, which has a negative impact on prices? Unfortunately, we would have to pay more for it. But there is still trade going on. I know the border's closed, and they now said it's probably going to be closed until the end of 2020, which I don't personally have a problem with because I don't travel there, but I know other people do have an issue with that. But the trade is still going on. However, I can tell you again, anecdotally, that there are issues with shipments. And I just touched on it with the pressure treated wood. So I'm currently looking at trying to figure out how to build or finish this deck. And they said that the wood is no longer the shortage, it's the shipping of the wood that is the shortage. And so
Oh, okay.
you know, the logistical piece, there's so many parts that go into manufacturing and that go into all the different things that we buy and sell and all that, that one piece of the puzzle becomes a bottleneck.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if we can get out of that and get back to some form of normalcy. But it seems like we're kind of caught in this teeter totter.
So weird. Like so weird. And it's interesting you say that because everyone thinks it's, we're short on pressure treated wood, we're short on materials, but it's not. That's crazy to hear, man. That's absolutely crazy to hear. And I guess what will probably start to happen is people who are maybe not employed start to jump into those industries. I guess it's got, the lumpiness has to sort itself out, right?
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, so
Because there are
interesting.
certain industries that are affected more than others. So hopefully some of the areas that are being negatively impacted will figure itself out, and then we kind of get back to normal.
Okay, so public service announcement. All I need is a 1 inch deep, okay, 5 inch wide, 5 foot tall pressure treated board. If you have one out there, buzz me. I just need the one piece of pressure treated wood. All right. You need a lot more, Sam, so I'm in line before you. All right. So listen, what's going on? Anything coming up this week? Coming off a long weekend. We didn't have a show last week because obviously long weekend, everyone kind of sneaks off. What's coming up this week? Anything interesting?
Yeah, I mean, we just got off a big week of earnings. A lot of companies reporting, a lot of companies beating earnings, albeit, you know, we take that with a grain of salt. A lot of guidance is a little bit weird and wonky right now. But generally speaking, especially on the tech side, NASDAQ exploding, a lot of good news. The S&P is only a couple percent off all-time highs. Things are chugging along. I think right now, most people are waiting to see what happens with the next stimulus bill. That's the big piece,
Yeah.
right? You heard Trump say he would back a airline bailout of some capacity, which makes sense. I mean, I don't know what you do any other way. But as a general piece right now, we're waiting to see what happens for the consumer or the average individual. Will they get another $1,200 check? Will it be a $600 check? Well, what will it be? When will it be? You know, all that stuff. So that seems to be the thing we're waiting on now.
Yeah. It's the airline industry, all these other impacted industries, is a bailout even going to help? I mean, how deep must that bailout be? And it's time will tell. Time will tell. People, I look at myself. I usually go to the U.S. I used to, 6, 7 times, because as everyone knows, I coach competitive volleyball as a coach or as a fan to watch, Minnesota games. Not going, man. Not going. I can't anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll see. More to come on this one. More to come on this one. Sam, have a fantastic weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful here in southwestern Ontario. And folks, until next time, we'll talk to you soon.